Sorry, just have to pause the video really quick. This will not be one of those videos. While I did shoot some B-roll footage and was planning on saying how well the rifle was at the end and wanting to recommend it, instead this video will be more about how the rifle is now currently disassembled and will be being sent back to PSA, as well as the journey coming here and hopefully how PSA can rectify it. Without further ado, let's get started. So I ended up wanting to buy an AK in early 2022. Maybe it was playing too much Tarkov, maybe it was wanting something different than my AR, who knows. But I had 3 objectives that I wanted to complete when buying one. First, it had to be a budget rifle. Second, it had to have forged trunnions for obvious safety reasons. And then lastly, it needed to have a good in-country warranty in case something happens. We are buying a budget product after all. For that budget rifle, I think that the AK has a certain ethos, right? It has a stamped sheet metal receiver. It's somewhat cheaply made and can be used by the everyday man. And frankly, a lot of AK manufacturers don't really do that anymore. Prices have really crept recently, and so buying something from Palmetto or maybe possibly Zastava with their Yugo AK or maybe a Wasser was really my only option. That kind of leads to also the trunnion. There's other AKs that have cast trunnions, and as you probably already know, there are many videos on the internet showing them blowing up. As a left-handed shooter, I did not want that happening in my face. And then that warranty. Palmetto has taken care of me when I used them previously for weapon accessories when I had issues with my orders, and I figured that they would cover me if I had an issue with the rifle itself. And plot twist, there's many. After deciding on buying a blemished GF3 from Palmetto, due to its great price at the time, I picked it up from my FFL and started shooting. Right off the bat, I noticed that the rifle was incredibly overgassed, to the point that it actually bruised my shoulder from the first range trip. This could be me being a p***, but whatever. Besides the recoil, the sights were zeroed from the factory. The AK was also very reliable, never having malfunctioning issues that some badly assembled rifles can have. I also quickly found out that the included furniture is completely garbage. Hollow and cheap feeling, the stock feels rough with the recoil pattern, and the handguard would rattle and flex when I held it. This alone makes me recommend you to just buy a Palmetto AK with better furniture on sale instead of buying the blemished special. You're going to spend money on new furniture, might as well buy the rifle with it from the factory. For optics, I borrowed my friend's TWS dogleg rail, allowing me to install a Holosun 403B that I also bought from PSA. I bought a random mystery surplus stock from the internet to fit a KUSA butt pad to help with both the length of pull and recoil. For the handguard, I was able to get one of the first of the new line of handguards that Palmetto had introduced to provide a clone of Zenico products. Lastly, a Palmetto muzzle brake was installed for further recoil mitigation. A couple of Magpul grips finished out the build, making the total cost of the entire rifle sit at just over $1,000 with all shipping and taxes included. Not bad for a build that I was obviously using Tarkov as inspiration for. Besides my cringe gamer guy fantasies, each mod made the gun way more usable for me. It was also a big hit with a lot of my friends, convincing them to live life a little and not be scared about modifying their rifles. After doing some periodic range days in 2022, the rifle had just under 400 rounds through it. When I went to an indoor range for the first time in 2023, after letting the rifle sit for a couple months, I noticed that the rear sight block had some slight rust spots on it. Upon inspection, it turned out that several spots on the rear sight block had gone past surface rust and straight to corrosion. The finish in those spots was literally falling off the rifle. I was able to pick it off with my finger. When I had bought the rifle, I had noticed that the finish had a weird texture in some areas. I figured that this was the reason the AK was considered blemished. In my opinion, these areas were spots where the rifle may not have been prepped correctly for the finish, and had let corrosion work itself into the metal underneath. Besides the corrosion, the front sight walked itself down into the post during that range trip. Just a minor annoyance, since I was using a red dot anyway. I submitted a warranty claim with PSA, wherein they basically told me that since the rifle was a blemished sale, that all finish issues weren't covered by warranty. They did address the front sight post and sent me a new one free of charge. Obviously, this can be an opinionated issue, but I believe that there's a difference between a scratch or a crooked stamp versus corrosion covering the rear sight block. In any case, Palmetto was technically correct, so I found a local gunsmith that would strip the corrosion and refinish the rifle for a good price. When I disassembled the rifle for the refinish, that's when I found the first major problem. The AK had been beating itself to death. The rear of the bolt carrier had so much peening, or deformation, that the mushroomed metal could actually contact the bolt underneath it when it slid back and forth. Besides the bolt carrier, the right rear trunnion area had severe wear, very similar to Grand Thumb's issue with his Palmetto AK-74. Palmetto almost immediately approved the following warranty claim, giving me a shipping label for return. My AK was in their hands for roughly a month before they sent me back the diagnosis, as well as shipping info for its return back to me. Their notes were as follows. Inspected firearm for nature of complaint. Found bolt carrier and bolt out of spec, along with trunnion and barrel. Removed trunnion and barrel from receiver. Headspace, new bolt, new carrier, new trunnion, and barrel. Test fired for accuracy, which passed. Results are mailed back to customer with firearm, cleaned and lightly oiled. Once the rifle came back, I completely stripped the rifle back down to reinstall my accessories. I believe Palmetto's notes, since most of the rifle was new, except the receiver, trigger, rear trunnion, and furniture. All the finish issues were gone. And while I can't completely prove it, I think Palmetto repaired the GF3 with upgraded parts, since the bolt carrier had a Toolcraft stamp on it, a mark that I don't remember being on the rifle before. In any case, the parts looked to be better machined and finished. I wiped down all the parts that I touched, and then proceeded to shoot it for the next half year. During this time, I switched to using an Intero arms mount for the Holosun, then having a Huxworks muzzle brake installed when I finally got my suppressor out of jail late last year. If you have watched any of my previous videos, you'd also know that I've been using this rifle to do testing of various cheap IR lasers. With 2023 ending, the rifle post-fix had between 500 and 600 rounds through it total. I bought a Somo gear for a future video and knew that the AK was approaching its 1,000 round mark. As I was shooting B-roll for the Somo gear, I was also recording footage for my review of the rifle. While at the range, I had a weird malfunction where the rifle's bolt was locking up mid-travel. I thought maybe it was catching on the magazine, so I reinserted it, and was able to get it running again. When my friend and I looked at the action after the malfunction, we noticed that the piston had some weird rust spots on it. After the range, I disassembled the AK and found two major problems. First, the stainless steel piston had severe corrosion, and I mean severe. Corrosion pockmarked across the entirety of the rod. I cleaned the piston and saw that the weird raised corrosion specks had penetrated deep into the stainless steel finish. This wasn't surface rust. Coincidentally, there was a surface rust spot on the bolt carrier that came off using only oil. The fact that there was no other deep corrosion areas similar to the piston rod was also weird. Looking at the rear trunnion, muzzle device, bolt, none of the telltale signs of using corrosive ammo are seen. I've only bought Tula non-corrosive ammo for this rifle, ammo that Palmetto sells themselves. As far as I know, no corrosive ammo has touched this rifle. As for the bolt, my malfunction at the range made sense. The locking lug was severely deformed, and could obviously cause movement issues when it operates. The lug looks like someone just held up a torch up to ice. Just melted almost. While I have shot the rifle with a suppressor, we're talking maybe 250 rounds total. Hell, I've only had the suppressor for a couple months, basically right when I started making YouTube videos. Shot-by-shot comparisons don't really show any increased recoil or weird operation patterns. I have reached out to Palmetto already with a warranty claim, and they've given me another shipping label to send the rifle back. They have already stated that they would replace the carrier and rebolt the rifle. Probably the same repair that they did just half a year ago. At this point, the few original parts of the AK left have just 1,000 rounds through it total, and will be on its third bolt and carrier. Kind of sad. While it's hard to dispute the premature wear of the internals for both of these warranty claims, having two corrosion issues with the AK can be highly suspect on my part for maintaining my weapons. While I didn't baby my AK, I'm not exactly throwing them into muddy ponds or throwing rocks into the receiver like other YouTubers. In my opinion, if my weapon care was a problem, the corrosion issues would have been consistent. First, the outer finish was rusting. Then post-fix, it was the internal components corroding. With my house averaging 50-ish% humidity, a low round count, and not shooting corrosive ammo, I don't see how the rifle could have had so much corrosion. Twice. As an owner of a Palmetto AK, this whole ordeal has been a huge kick in the balls, especially considering SHOT Show 2024 just wrapped up. Palmetto hit hard at the expo, showing off many of their concepts and asking their fans to vote on what to build next. Meanwhile, my AK can't even run right. I get that problems can slip through the cracks, but I've wasted hours of my life having to tear this stupid rifle down multiple times, not to mention the weeks it spent in Palmetto's grippy sock jail getting worked on. While this whole experience has been horrible as a Palmetto customer, I will say that their warranty request process is as painless and smooth as possible. They didn't question my round count for wear and didn't try to blame my suppressor for the premature wear. I'll respect that. I have a sneaking suspicion that this video will be used as cannon fodder for the PSA hate train, but you gotta give them props on a great warranty. But sometimes, that's not enough. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, you found it entertaining and now have some areas to watch for problems if you yourself have a Palmetto AK. Let me know in the comments your experience with Palmetto. Hopefully we get some positive stories to white pill us. I'll be returning to laser reviews for the near future. As you probably saw, I have an updated Somo Gear PEC that I'm wrapping up my testing with. Stay tuned, and Godspeed out there.
After about 30 minutes, 15 minutes soaking, 15 minutes messing around with this, we got the muzzle device off. Man, taking apart that AK was tough, but you know what would have really helped me? Going to SDI to learn some gunsmithing.